Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. I haven't made a video in a few weeks on Bitcoin, so I'm gonna do one today. I was waiting for a break of support, so I was waiting for a break of support here at 28k, or yeah, 28k. So we didn't get a break of support yet, but there are a few things that I do want to talk about. So let's just start from the monthly. So again, we had a swing high here. We came down to, well, I guess it's moved up since, but we haven't really closed below that yellow line yet. That's the middle band of the Keltner channel. So you can see here we did end up closing down below in the previous runs a few times. So we closed below, had a run here, and we ended up ultimately coming down again. Not saying that's gonna happen again, but the channel is here, and we did talk about support being here at 13, 14. That's where the main support is. Again, nothing really has changed since. The price has, well, it went up a little bit, of course, for some reversion, but and then it also did come down as well since we spoke. But roughly it's about average, so it's moving quite slow. There was news on China. Usually those news stories, even though if they are big, they usually they don't change anything, they just kind of speed up the process. So it's mostly just algorithm. So again, we didn't have any cross down here yet. It's trying to cross and no crossing down yet. So I think the next month it'll continue down and we'll be about there. So we could see something perhaps like this. And yeah, so something like that, maybe a little bit more, and if we go down more, it just depends. But we do see that crossing down. I know it's been a while since the peak. We were there, right? And you know, they could still take another. How many months was that? April, May, June. You know, another 4 or 5 months before it even crosses down. So it is moving slow. Here's the weekly MACD default 12, 26, 13. I think I forgot the last number. So this is a faster MACD. We did cross down. We are seeing the shorter time period indicators starting to get a little bit over sold, perhaps, but we could still also go down. So just keep it in mind. We could go a little bit farther, because take all of these orange lines, this one, 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 and average them. And we could just get a certain approximation. Take the max and the minimum as well. And then kind of see, you know, we're about maybe a little bit below. But there is still room. It could go down, of course, so it's kind of 50-50 here, but again, overall, if you now take these this max and this minimum for the overbought range, you would see that we are getting a little bit in the shorter period time frame, because that's what those indicators do. They tell us the shorter time periods. We did not see this blue one come down here yet, so that could also mean wait. It's also up to you, because last time we came down here, we came up and then we came back down. So it's kind of a maybe just wait kind of signal. Let's talk about the channel here. So we have the trend line. Pretty much the channel here is like looking like this. Where's the break? let's just say that was going down more like that. Okay, let me redraw it. Make it a bit steeper. So coming down like that, that's what we're looking for. The channel might be a little bit too steep, perhaps. Maybe a little bit somewhere between like that. Somewhere between there. And we have this channel as well. So there's the... Usually I don't look at it too sideways. But the reason why I'm doing that is because of this blue Keltner channel. So it's actually, I think it's the default one. So this light blue line here and that blue line here and that middle. So that's the default Keltner, and that's the kind of like the, it's just a pattern, it's just an approximation, it's nothing for sure. But we are looking for a break here if we're going higher, or a break below. But the overall probability with all the MACD and all that stuff, the RSI and the moving averages, it looks like we could be heading down lower. This channel here again is down here, and look at last time we came up above those lines as we did here in the most recent run, maybe a few weeks of a bullish movement. People got excited and then it sold off again with some heavy crashes, quick ones, because I guess the algorithms are knowing when to, and the bigger players knowing when to go deep on short leverage, central banks and all that. I guess the government's all in on it. So yeah, so we have the support here, the bottom of the wicks, and then so between 34 and 28 is where we're seeing the bouncing happening before. So we'll just go to the daily because there was a little bit of a inner pattern to look at as well. So we have more channels here, so a bit of a better approximation is kind of like that. And here's that. So since we're in a smaller time frame, the volatility might be more increased. So that was just a default Keltner, and we'll see the other Keltners you can play around with heading down here. So this was pushing down here, and as you can see, at times we did push down below there in heavier sells. So if there was more heavier sell movement, we actually did come down to that pink line, and yeah, pink line was the steepest. So that's about 31 if they were going deep at this time. If they were going deep later here, it might be a bit more, perhaps in the 20s. But if it was to crash at this exact moment in time, you would see that at 42, the price currently almost 42,291, that a quick move down with strong volatility would bring us to that pink line here. But if later in the week we were here at 36 or 37, maybe that pink line would be down here. You get the idea? Because over the time the averages change. That changes by the minute or second, right? And then by these candles are by daily. So then also they change in real time, I believe. But that channel here is something like that. Because if you zoom in on that, you can see kind of what in the last couple weeks that's been the channel, and we just went over the weekly, what the last few months have been like. And it's good to look at all that if you are into it, if you have time. But you can see the weekly channels pretty straightforward. The weekly one's pretty much the most straightforward one. The monthly one still doesn't really, it's still building its channel. but it has a similar idea. But it's definitely harder to look at. If you're just looking at this from here, it'd kind of be difficult to note because the candles are so big. That's pretty much it at this point. We'll just have a look at the momentum again. We went over it. Still, we had a cross here. That's when it dumped, I think. Let's talk about a couple the crashes, I guess. There was a few crashes. I think you can see it better on the 4-hour. I did want to make a video when it did crash. I think it was this one. Was it this one? Well, there was definitely a few. So yeah, I think it was this one. This one was a pretty big crash, and it happened quite fast. As you can see, we came up and it just didn't like it, and it just came down. And it came back up. And then it crashed again. Kind of not as fast, but over a longer span of time. This one was just like in 1-4. It would just, how many? I think it was even faster than that, but it was over, I think it was over 25%. Or 20%, somewhere between there. Can't remember exactly. But there was articles about it, and a lot of times the articles are hidden because those people are long and they don't want to get the people scared into panic selling and all that. But even in a 2 you can see, oh yeah, note the volume. That's huge, right? Let's actually look at the, you can see that's huge for the summer volume, right? That's the highest volume day we had for selling. And we will just zoom in a little bit. Sorry, zoom out. Okay, so that was, let's go by, I guess we'll go by daily. That was a day, I think. No. Here. Yeah, so okay, so not the strongest sell-off volume we've had in this bearish transition, but I guess that one takes the cake. But it still had a little bit of a run after that. But then we talked about the volume fading off, the buy volume, but there is not much volume overall at this time. You can see the volume's fading. Here it was pretty high. So this is the highest one, this was the highest one. And out of the last few months, this is the highest volume day that we've had. So you can see how the volume decreased. But wow, Bitcoin volume in 2013, crazy, right? Compared to what this run was. It was pretty much, we had half the volume or less even that we've had in back then. So overall volume's fading out. I'm not sure why. That's a long time ago when he wasn't even popular, so it doesn't really make sense. It could be inside, it could have been the insiders, perhaps. Satoshi and all that. Could have been just playing around with it, manipulation, mass manipulation, possibly, I'm not sure. It was more unregulated back then, so we wouldn't really know. But we do see the volume fading off overall at the peak of this run. So that was before. This, I guess you could count that as being, that's when the pandemic started, so that's where it had the run. That was the highest volume day, and since then it's decreased. High red selling here. And yeah, so we had more selling back before, but again, overall volume is down, and we have had some roughly the same amount of sell volume as this. So perhaps we are, but not saying we are, but perhaps we are here, roughly so maybe about halfway through this bearish run. Just an example, not for sure. Do we go over weekly volume? We did. Daily volume, we did. But over the last couple months, that was the pretty high sell volume. Which day beats it? The last time we had that high sell volume was June 22nd. So it's been a few months since we've had that much sell volume, so it's significant. And we haven't had any green volume that's beaten this 26th of July, which is almost the same amount as the 22nd of June. And the highest volume day was about January. So we've come down in volume overall. Honestly, I think the volume, yeah, you can see it's fading. And we see our channels here, so pretty much people are going long here and short around here. So we're about between here and here. We're a little bit in the high zone, but we did talk about the shorter time period. We'll just talk about the 4 hour. So we have a little bit of momentum to the upside here, coming almost above that yellow line. Perhaps we'll see the same idea here, maybe within this channel here, looking for a breakout, and then looking for a break below, somewhere around there, counting these wicks in. Those fishtails. So that could be our channel for now. Everything's pretty much mapped out. If we have a break, it's coming up here. If we have a sell, it's coming down below. So the overall price action, we are leaning towards a long, not, I guess, yeah, it's long term, so longer term sell here. We haven't been below that yellow line. We haven't really been below in a while, so perhaps we could see some action coming back down, because look how long we were above the yellow line on the weekly. Then we came down, then we came up, and then now perhaps we want to see some more down movement. Monthly, we have not closed below that yellow line. I kind of think of it as an average price, but we haven't actually closed below, so closing below, I'll just remove those. If you want to see those, rewind the video. So we want to see that close below that yellow line. So we want to see a close, a close, a close, similar to this. Close, 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 and then up maybe, and then close below, close below. Actually, no, that's still close above, and then close below one more time. At least some closing below. And perhaps, of course, the past will not always tell the future, because the steepness, as we discussed before, see the previous videos, the slope of that this momentum here is actually a lot more negative compared to those ones, and there's a lot more volume in it too, so it's a higher peak, and we haven't even crossed down yet, so there could be a longer decline here. Perhaps the regulations in China are starting to maybe push some more things, because I guess they do have a big pull on the financial market compared to, for example, Ecuador, who was trying to go bull on Bitcoin, and now the news on China shut them.